so funny to see her picture there. My name is Scott Garland. I'm president of the Upton Historical Society, and I certainly want to thank everybody for coming today. The library invited us to come talk about our display, which will be for this month out in the lobby, on the history of the library, and trying to focus on a few of the longtime librarians of the town over the years. So I have a narrative. I don't always like to read, but well, I'm a historian. I didn't know much about the history of the library other than my occurrences over the years, which would include the Old Town Hall Library and the Milton Rustine Building. So if you bear with me, narratives can be kind of fun, but thank you. Okay, the first public library in the United States. The first public library in the United States is considered to be the Franklin Town Library in Franklin, Massachusetts. Benjamin Franklin, in 1790, had donated a large collection of his books to the town named on his behalf. In 1833, the first library to be established as a result of taxation for such purposes was in Peterborough, New Hampshire. The Boston Public Library was established in 1852, and soon thereafter many towns in Massachusetts followed suit. Upton Library beginnings. Upton adopted a resolution to establish a library in 1871, and the selectmen were directed to make room for the same in the Waverly Building, or commonly known in those days as the GAR Hall, Grand Army of the Republic. A sum of $400 was appropriated to purchase books. William Knowlton added a gift of $500. The library committee, under the direction of their president, Dolores Taft, purchased 830 books.
Wow.
So that's all.
A lot of books for that amount of money.
Reverend George S. Ball, he was dearly loved in this town, donated 27 books from his personal library. George Hoare, who I believe he's of the Hoare family, who served several terms as mayor of Worcester, he donated 52 volumes of the Massachusetts decisions of the Supreme Court. I think those are still, I think we still have those over at the Fay Room. Pretty sure. We'll take a look though, Larry, right? Mm-hmm. The library first opens its doors September 13th of 1873. So 1873. And thank you, Matt. Here's the original register. Upton's original library register from 1873. It's fascinating. And with Matt and Erica, we looked and we wanted to look up to see Mr. Knowlton, if he's in here. Sure enough, John Knowlton. His first book that he took out was a romantic mystery.
Yeah, it was a fiction book, I think.
A fiction book. Yeah. So Erica was kind of fascinated with that. She's going to get a copy of it and bring it to the library. In its first year of existence, the library loaned books to 407 different persons. It's quite a bit. For many years to come, the home of the library was inside the Waverly Hall, a building that once stood next to the now empty Holy Angels Church.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yep.
Both of us got called out because of the notification from the community center about the pen pals. So we've silenced our phones. Other people may be getting them.
Absolutely.
Sorry about that.
You survived the notification.
The senior center. And I should have shut it off. I didn't even think of it.
That's funny.
Sorry.
Waverly Hall was originally the second meeting house. Built in 1770 from the bones of the first meeting house that had been constructed off of Grove Street in 1735, a year of our incorporation. Upon completion of the new town hall in 1884, the library quarters were moved to the second floor of that building. It's now the office of the town manager. Small a small way. The library was quaint but very small. There was a small reading area located in front of a working fireplace. During the early 1960s, I was part of a group of kindergartners and third and fourth graders, I don't know what happened to the first and second graders, who would sit in front of the fireplace and they would read to us, the librarian or the library assistant. These sessions were held during the summer Monday afternoons. We were all assigned the task of reading a total of 15 books on outer space, titled Colonel John Glenn's Friendship 7. There was a space map showing achievement of the 3 levels hanging on the wall. There were 3 levels of orbit. Each orbit contained 5 books. So to complete this summer task, you had to read 15 books. Upon completion of the 15th book, each child received a John Glenn friendship pin. Unfortunately, I don't have mine anymore. Well, I probably do, actually,
Somewhere.
in my storage. I'm going to look for it. During the Christmas holidays, we were treated to story time by Mrs. Hazel Forsberg of Chestnut Street. She read to us in front of the fireplace. I can't tell you if they used the fireplace as a fireplace back in those days. I don't think they did. But we sat in front of the fireplace. My memory last night during a dream was that there was one of those little wheels with the colors that went round and round, sitting.
On the Christmas tree?
Yep.
No, they're
In the
on.
fire, in the fire.
They
Make it
sit
look
on the
like
floor.
something's happening in the fire.
Yeah. And they go round and
They
round.
didn't have that.
Clarence and Hazel lived on Chestnut Street. Near the end of their lives, they donated the little 10-foot boot shop to the Upton Historical Society. We are in the process right now of restoring that boot shop, and it'll reopen in May. So we're excited about that. That was thanks to a grant that Linda Gay wrote and obtained. For the first 3 years, a librarian was elected each year. So it was a different librarian each year for the first 3 years. And then in 1877, Mr. Charles A. Orms was elected librarian, and he held the position until 1885. And then there was a series of long-serving librarians. In 1885, Mrs. Laura Sadler was elected librarian, a position that she held for 32 years. In 1917, Miss Helen A. Fay was elected librarian, and she served in this capacity for 49 years. I did see an annual town report where she was up for reappointment or re-election as an elected position in 1969, and I don't know what happened, but it was the end of her service, 49 years. Helen was very qualified and loved her town very much. Her sister Charlotte lived with her for many years, following a distinguished career for the U.S. government. Born in 1894, Charlotte worked for the Army Air Service Library during World War I. In 1926, she was appointed a position that established the first library for the Aeronautic Branch Department of Commerce, Civil Aeronautics Administration. In 1928, she organized the Library for the Fairchild Aviation Corporation in Farmingdale on Long Island. Then in 1933, she was asked to return to Washington, D.C., where she was appointed head librarian of the Army Industrial College of the Armed Forces at Fort McNair. It's now known as the National Defense Library. That's the library. She was the college's historian and was very proud and would brag about that she managed all the graduates' biographies, including that of Dwight D. Eisenhower,
Wow.
who was an alumni, obviously. Following her retirement, she came back to Upton to live with her sister Helen at the family home located at 52 Main Street, which still stands today. She volunteered many hours working with her sister at the Upton Library. Helen and Charlotte were the daughters of John B. Fay, who was a major contributor to the Upton Library's beginnings, serving 50 years as a library trustee. He was a longtime member of the Board of Selectmen, acting as their secretary. Neither Helen nor Charlotte ever married. World War I Fund Distribution Act of 1924. Never heard of it before. It's pretty interesting. And I honestly don't know the end result of it. I didn't have enough time to study it, but I'm going to. Warrant Article 14 of the annual town meeting held in February of 1925 voted affirmative to set aside $950.48 as a fund for a library building from a disbursement received from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts under Chapter 480, Acts of 1924, resulting from $2 million in funds that were still being held by the state, resulting from the end of World War I. That war ended in 1918, so it's 6 years later. Dr. Samuel R. Capon of Upton had petitioned the legislature to take advantage of this required disbursement. An additional sum of $675 was added to the amount, resulting from the sale of the old Center School, which is now the Grange. So $675 came from that sale. For 25 years, the funds remained in a savings account. The supporters of a library building project never reached their goals. An attempt was made in 1950 on a motion by Alfred Nichols, those you might remember Alfred, to rescind the vote of 1925. But it lost by a single vote, so the money sat in the account. By the close of 1956, with interest, the account was at $4,310.42. By a decision of the House Council, the town was notified that the original vote in 1925 was in fact illegal, and that the town could expend the funds for either a new library or a stone monument in memory of World War I U.S. Army or Navy veterans. A record of the final disbursement for this fund I didn't uncover. Maybe it's still at Milford Savings Bank.
Can you remind us of the year it began, that the money was put in?
1925.
Wow, and now it's 100 years later.
Now it's 100 years this year, yeah, that's right.
It could be worth a lot.
Though my grandfather opened a bank account in I'll never forget this, 1916 Putnam Savings Bank. He put $1 in the account. And in 1998, I found the book, and I'm like, did you have a cash this in? He's like, no, I never went back. So I took him to Putnam, still in business, Savings Bank, and I presented it to tell the vice president came out, pictures, this and that. No, they didn't even give him his $1 back. But, yeah. So, in 1968, the total circulation was a remarkable 14,049 books. The Knowlton Racine Building, Town Library, 1973 to 2022. Help me if I'm incorrect on that date, because I wasn't here. In March of 1970, the possibility of Upton having a full-size library came to fruition after the Upton Methodist Church Society voted to consolidate with the First Congregational Church. They formed the United Parish Church. This made available the purchase of the Methodist Church that had originally been built in 1876. In September of 1974, local Boy Scouts, including me, carried 15,000 books from the town hall to the new library on a rainy Saturday. Despite periodic rain and downpours, the 35 scouts from troops 132 and 136 accomplished the task in just over 8 hours. There's a photograph of us carrying books up here, out of the town hall. And believe me, those stairs carrying heavy books was no easy task. Mrs. Amelia Ackerson of Prospect Street was town librarian for many of these years. And I apologize, I don't have her years of service. It was a little difficult kind of actually uncovering her history. I understand she still has family in the area though. I'd like to talk to them. She received a certification as a qualified librarian from the Library Extension Division of the Board of Education. It's a well-known fact in those days that she accomplished her studies in 1/2 the usual time that it took. She was a smart cookie. I remember her very well. Matt, could you speak on the current library for us?
Sure.
Thank you.
Are you going to do more
No, I'm
history from there to
done.
how
I'm
we
gonna
got
go
here?
show and tell next.
Okay. Yeah. So, thanks. That was great. Some of those names I had definitely heard, but hearing a little bit more about their history was super great for me. So, thanks for putting that together. So, you got us up to Mrs. Ackerson, who moved. So, I never actually met Mrs. Ackerson. There was one person in between me and Mrs. Ackerson. That was Deborah Hirsch. I don't know if anyone remembers Deb Hirsch.
Yeah.
So, Deb Hirsch. So, Mrs. Ackerson got us out of the town hall, across the street, into the renovated Methodist church. And that's where we were from 1973 up until 2022. So Miss Ackerson was there for a while, and then Deb Hirsch came in 1997, I believe she started. She was the first sort of professional librarian. She moved the library from the card catalog to she computerized the library so we could look things up online. You know, we could check things out electronically. And in 1998, she formed a committee to try to get a new library building. So they had been in the Methodist Church for, let's say, 25 years and said, hey, we need some more room. We need a building that's, accessible. We need a building that has the right space and the right design. So she started that process in 1998. And we opened this building in 2023. So 25 years it took to go from, hey, we need a new building, to actually being here.
Right.
I came in 2003 as children's librarian and took over as director in 2005. So I've been the Upton Library Director since 2005.
Wow.
Yeah, it went pretty fast. Sometimes I'll be like, wow, it's been 20 years. So all of that 20 years, we have had various, probably every 5 years or so, we'd come up with some plan for a new library building, whether it was going to be new construction somewhere, renovate an old building. There was supposed to, at one point, there was going to be a planned development where the railroad is instead of the railroad yard. There was a developer who said, let's build houses and shops in the front and have a little water feature, and there was going to be a town office building in there. None of those things passed for whatever reason. Sometimes the land went away. Sometimes the town voters said, no, we don't want to do this expenditure at this point. But eventually we got to, significant planning for this building probably started 2019 or so. Couple rounds of hiring an architect. Finally we got to this building, and I think the key that made this building work was bringing in the senior center. Bringing in that group and saying, hey, we've got two buildings that are both not accessible, in old basements, need to be updated. We've got two populations. We looked at how much we could share. We both wanted study rooms. We both wanted meeting rooms. We both wanted, an accessible parking lot. And we did this building without any state funding. It was all town funding, and that's unusual. There's a very strong program that funds library construction in Massachusetts, and all of our previous attempts had used that grant program, and this one because we said, hey, it's a little different, we're combining with the senior center. We didn't qualify for that program, but the town, fortunately, supported the project and voted the construction funds. Got to where we are. I do have, I'm not going to read all of it, but I do have a little handout. This is a handout we made for the grand opening of this building. So it has some little trivia facts about how many square feet is it and how high is the roof and what are the wooden beams made out of. So if you're interested in any of those things, and there's a couple construction pictures on the back. So if you want any of those, feel free to grab one. Got my back to the camera here. Yes.
I just wanted to mention that we have Cynthia Robertson here, who's the wife of John. And I can't say enough about how many years John Robertson tried to get a library in Upton.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say he's the single person who's why this building exists. Actually, he was the chairman of my board of trustees for almost all the time I worked here. I think he probably became trustee chair just like a couple years before I became director. So John and I worked very closely. Our partnership as director and trustee chair was very strong, and he had all the knowledge of the town, and he had been on so many committees prior to becoming the library trustee. So
And he never gave up.
no,
And then he got Steve Rackerton involved,
yeah.
and the two of them could push it over the.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
And we do have a very nice, there's a plaque in John's memory in the children's area, so certainly take a look at that.
I read an article about you and John going door to door to get people to sign a petition.
Yeah.
Yeah, John was always the one, so like I said, we went through a number of library projects that didn't work for one reason or another, and I'd always be kind of like, oh, this one didn't work, we got it, and John would be the one, is like the day after a vote failed, he'd come down to the library and say, okay, what's the next plan? He'd move right on and just say, okay,
Gotta love it.
what are you gonna do next? So, yeah, and he, if you look at the town reports, John Robertson, for many decades would write the one for the library.
And he was very kind of unassuming about the whole thing. Quiet, resolved, working like anything to make sure eventually something happened. Remarkable man.
For sure, yes. Thank you for mentioning him, because he's the reason why this building is here, for sure. A couple other things I thought of mentioning as I was listening. Oh, your story about bringing the books across the street. So we had a professional moving company move all the books to this building. But we did do, like, just out of tradition and history, we did do a little event where we had a number of children from the Girl Scouts and Boy
I was actually there
Scouts.
for that.
Yeah, and we did. It wasn't all the books, but
No.
we did do. Everyone, carried one or two books as sort of in a ceremonial
Little
way.
red wagons.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
They sort of reenacted that from the Knowlton Ristine building over to this building
Right.
when it
They'll
opened.
remember it.
Yeah.
They'll remember
That's
Yeah.
right. They will remember it.
50 years from now.
The other thing I wanted to mention is on this table over here, this little purple book over here,
That's
Letter for Joanna by John Knowlton. If you are interested in the Knowlton family and their buildings and some of the stories about what happened with that family, that's a great read. We have, I think, one copy of that circulates here. So it's not it's John Knowlton's kind of memories of his family and his child, so it's not like a historical, it's not a factual book like Upton's Heritage, but it's a really interesting read. You really got to take it with it's one person's perspective
That's
and memories,
correct.
but it's a very,
It's one of my favorite books.
yeah, it's a cool story.
And
to
we
read.
just had someone donate a second edition, so we now have a loaner of that book at the Society. We have our original one, which is in-house only, but we do have one. It's a little tattered, but it's all there.
Yeah, that's a fun, and it's a very personal story, it's not a dry history
So it's
book.
during the great area of the streetcars, okay, and the Knowlton family, learning how to fly the very first planes, the Knowlton family, that kind of thing. So it's pretty good. hometown story.
Yeah, I know you mentioned a couple numbers about, they started with 830 books.
Yeah, so I
400
actually, I
circulation.
missed a paragraph in here.
For the current size to compare?
No,
That's what
about
I was
the bequests. The original bequests and bequests over the years.
thinking. Okay.
And so over the years, the library has been the beneficiary of several generous bequests, including $1,000 donated by Dr. Carpenter in 1881. That's $31,762 in 2025 dollars. That was a lot of money in 1881. $5,000 donated by Mrs. Eli Batchelor in 1918, who had given 47 years as the secretary of the Upton Library Trustees. In 2025 terms, that's $107,275. You still using Dr. Carpenter, Mr. Carpenter's?
Yeah, all those funds
Dr.
still
Carpenter.
exist. The $1,000 in principal is still in its own little account, and we have the interest account.
Yeah.
So we spend from those from time to time to buy more materials for the
That's
library.
awesome.
Yeah. Is Laura Dirth on your list?
Yes.
She's the one that's the one that we
Yeah.
spend from.
In 1969, the Dirth family donated $1,712 in memory of Mrs. Laura Davy Dirth, a 32-year teacher in the Upton school system. In 1975, the Dirth family added $6,195 to the fund. So that one's still.
Yeah, that one we use pretty frequently. You might see some books in the collection that have a little book plate in the front that said purchased with the Laura Dirth Fund, so that one we use pretty frequently. Yeah, so I just wanted, just for comparison, you heard some of the numbers from 100 years ago. So right now, we have about 30,000 items. They're not all books. That includes magazines and DVDs. And our circulation per year is about 60,000. So to hear that they were at 15,000 in the 70s is pretty good. They certainly made a lot of use of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know how much money is in the Knowlton Rustine?
Trust fund? I don't. I used to.
Because you constantly hear money, the first money that funded a director for our Council on Aging in Upton came from the Knowlton Rustine Fund because the town wouldn't vote it.
Oh.
So, yeah, I've got to try to track that down.
I mean, there's a committee that exists, it's under the guise of the Board of Selectmen, but there is a committee, I think Bob Fleming is on it. It was always, when I was working here, it was like 2 million plus in that range. I'm sure it's much more than that now, but, yeah.
It's amazing.
There's two funds, there's the, what's her name? Ristine. But there's Knowlton and then there's Ristine. So,
Right.
yeah, there's two funds from what I remember.
I often hear them linked when money's being given.
Yeah. Yeah, they were hat factory people. So I'll be reading a story on Thursday night about the Knowlton family, the millions of dollars that they gave and the buildings that they built that still stand today, and the beginning of the Knowlton Fund, 1952. I think he established it with it was like almost $1 million in 52. So pretty significant.
So what Scott's referring to is we're doing a history of the police on Thursday night at 7 o'clock at Town Hall. Everyone's invited, and there's going to be refreshments and cake, and everyone can come, and it's going to be the whole history, 135-year history of the police.
But it's really a fascinating look through. Years and years ago, I spent the better part of a year for the 100th anniversary of the police department in 1990, researching the police department that had never been done. And one of the articles I found was that when they dedicated the George S. Ball School, which is now the police station, Mr. Knowlton was chairman of the Board of Selectmen, so he was there. And John Fay was on the Board of Selectmen as a secretary. and the speech by Mr. Knowlton was interrupted by the Ku Klux Klan, who marched forward and tried to present 3 Bibles to the selectmen, and there was a big problem. So Mr. Knowlton was so upset that he made a quick speech of what a negative experience, how they could do that in such a nice event, and he resigned. But ironically, the townspeople thought that was a great thing that he did, and the next year they elected him as a state representative, and shortly thereafter he became a state senator. So we'll be relaying those stories Thursday night. Thank you.
Yeah, any other questions about current library, or I can cover the last 20 years and you can cover anything before that.
What's in the future?
Well, I think this building is intended to be our home for at least the next 25 years, maybe 50 years. So in the short-term future, it's how can we keep encouraging people to come to this building and make use of it? Now that we've built it, let's make the best use of it that we can.
There's a second floor, is there not?
Not that's publicly accessible. There's basically storage and mechanical.
Okay, I was
'Cause there's-
wondering what you used it for.
Yeah, there's no basement here. We're on a concrete slab, so all the mechanical stuff that normally would be in a basement is upstairs in the attic.
Yeah, so we don't have an option to expand, really, what we have.
No.
We do have a book club that meets every month, and which Michaela runs, and so there's the whole library concept is growing.
Yeah.
Yes, it wasn't too long ago, honestly, really the beginning of the internet, that libraries became like, nobody goes to the library. It's really nice to see the libraries are thriving now. I'm a salesman in Worcester County and out to Western Mass. The libraries are busy. Every town I go to, those libraries are busy. Every single day I go by there, there's a pretty good filled parking lot. So it's great to see the revitalization of the library from about 30 years ago.
Yeah, as long as I've been in the profession, so 20, 25 years, we've always heard, oh, computers are going to get rid of libraries.
Yeah.
In 5 years, there's going to be no libraries, and I've been hearing that for 25 years.
Right.
I think that the biggest switch we've seen is there's a move from, 40, 50 years ago, libraries were just sort of a place to hold books, and now they're a place to hold people.
Yeah.
So we're really more focused on
Right.
the events and the study places, and where do you come when you just want to sit and have some quiet for a little bit. So we certainly still have a nice collection, and it's well used.
Yeah.
But the shift has been more towards spaces for people to exist than for
Yeah.
books to exist.
One of my, I started doing the pen pal thing, so my first letter was from it's from an 8-year-old. And he had a couple of opening sentences, and then his third sentence was, "The library is the best place ever." So I have actually been attempting to explore what he likes about it, and when I find that out, I will pass that on.
All right,
That's
good.
great.
That's nice to hear.
So speaking of collections, if I may go through.
Yeah, please. I'll leave a few of
By the
these
way.
little trivia sheets if anybody wants one. But,
Oh, good. Thank you.
if anybody wants one of those.
So first, I want to recognize our sponsors. We've got new sponsors on board. They're the reason why we can make presentations like this. Unibank, Rushford and Sons, Brew House on Grove Street, have really stepped up to the plate and helped us. It really helps us offset the costs associated. And obviously, Barry Lynn's been a godsend for me. I came on in May, and yeah, I don't know where he came from. He like fell out of the sky, and he's been fantastic. So thank you,
Thanks.
Barry. So we had a really successful bus tour on Heritage Day, and we're going to do it again. So I've written a grant to provide it for next year because it was really popular.
Tell us about it.
We start at the Common on Heritage Day, and we do an hour and 15 minutes. We talk about the Common and all of its history. We travel up Main Street, talk about the history along Main Street. We stop in West Upton at the Coach Road, and we talk about the history of West Upton. We swing through what's now Millhouse Apartments, formerly the Hat Shop. And then we go up Mendon Street, past the old burying ground and the first meeting house. The John Sadler house is still there. And then we go up to Chestnut Street, and we can't stop and go in because it's dangerous, but we talk about the boot shop, which is at the corner of Chestnut and Mendon. We then go up through Kelly's Farms, down to Elm Street, to Heritage Park. We get out and we go down to the cave, and we talk about the cave. And we come out, and we go to past Lakeview Cemetery and talk about Gertrude Lawrence and how she's buried in her gown from the movie. I mean, not from the movie, from her Broadway productions.
King and I.
King and I. And then we go up Westboro Road to the Upton State Forest. We talk about the CCC camp. And then we come home.
That sounds wonderful.
It was great. We got a lot of great feedback from that.
And you sign up here for that?
No, it'll be next year.
No, I don't mean today, but is this where the sign up happened?
Oh, we could put a sign-up sheet here, I guess, but no, you can just, if you've signed in here, you will get
Notification.
notifications.
Okay.
So there is a sign-up sheet here. Just put your email address on there, and Barry's in charge of membership, so he will contact you probably in about 32 minutes after you leave here. All right, I want to go through these items. Certainly the original register from 1873 is a fascinating historical relic for the town. We have local books that have been written by Upton people. Where's yours?
It's not there, and it's actually an autobiography and it has some Upton stories in it.
Well, how do I get that?
It's in the library.
Donate one to the Historical Society.
I already did. It's donated.
Okay, what's the name of it?
Hardhound Stories.
Okay. We're going to do that. We'll look into that.
What's it called?
On Old Marlborough Road was written by John B. Robertson, Upton native, fully responsible for this building being what it is, long time member of the Board of Selectmen. This is a really cool book. So this book's here on Upton history that I say, some of these I can sit down and read front to back. Letter for Joanna is one. I want to keep reading this. This one are various stories. So you read parts of it at a time. And it's basically on two early settlers, two families of early settlers and their contributions to the town. Great book. These are all available for sale. John donated all of his books to the Historical Society. Can you imagine that? We have like 200 pieces. Barbara Burke spent many years accumulating raw data, and near the end of her life, she wanted to write a book. The Historical Society sponsored her, and with the help of Tom Baer, because at the time she was having difficulty manipulating the computer, Tom Baer really wrote this portion on her behalf. But this is a journey through Upton memories. It's another one that I grab in pieces, and I can read it. And I just read part of this last night. Got some great stuff in here. So Barbara Burke. Back when I was a kid, no. In 1983, the Historical Society authorized and contributed for Blake Johnson of Elm Street, longtime newspaper man, Worcester Telegram, brain, great writer. He wrote this book along with other contributors in town. It's Upton's Heritage. It's a go-to for historical facts. Great stuff in here. So these are all available. This one was written by William Poor. Reverend William Poor was a pastor at what is now the United Parish Church, then the First Congregational Church. This was authorized by the Women's Society of the Church, I believe, and it was published in 1935. It's a real go-to for old history of the town. I have a signed original copy at home. It was my mother's. 1735 to 1935. In 1985, that was our 200th and 50th anniversary, the Historical Society authorized the publication. We had 3,000 photographs just laying in boxes. And I'm going to tell you, I spent the better part of 10 years sorting through those photographs, identifying, transcribing, and what I did, and it's still there today, is I assembled them by category, and they're in 3-ring binders. There's how many of them? There's got to be 40. But the committee, under the direction of Carol Johnson, Ken Wood, and Stan Baker, created this. And it's a fascinating pictorial history of the town.
Copy that's in the library.
Yes, it is.
Will Road.
Copy, copy.
As Matt referred to, my favorite book is right here, A Letter for Joanna, written in 1960 by John Knowlton for his daughter. You want to know about life in 1900 and what it was like? It's well done. Well done. Out of circulation, so very hard to get to. And then we got some really neat things. You see the stained glass round window? Who do you think made that?
Paulson's.
That's right.
Who?
Paulson's.
Paulson. Carl
Carl Paulson.
Paulson of Ridge Road. This was in the former library, Noel Racine building. It's a young boy reading a book made by an Upton artist. And then we talked about Helen, Charlotte, and John B. Fay. Well, we've got some photographs here. This is Helen and Charlotte, around 1900. This is all three of them. John, I'm sorry, this is John, no, it can't be, it could be his wife. She died only a couple years after Charlotte was born. So she didn't live long after that. Charlotte was born in 1894. Helen was born in 1887, lived to be 99 years and 9 months.
Oh, dear.
But they were in the same nursing home together, so they got to spend the last few years with themselves. So when I was 16, I got a job in the town as a water meter reader. Before they went to electronic, I had to go into the basements and manually read the water meters. And I used to read Charlotte and Helen's water meter. So I got to know them really well because, you know, as a water meter reader, it was kind of like the mailman. You were always invited to sit down and
A piece of pie.
have a piece of pie or something. So that's how I got to know them. 52 Main Street. It's a beautiful home. There's the porch.
How is Dan Fay, the bus driver, related to them?
You know, I can't find a relation.
No.
So Dan Fay was downtown here,
Yes.
and Fay's Garage, but the descendant of Gilman Fay. Gilman Fay is really unknown, but he did some fascinating things. He was an abolitionist. He was best friends with Polly Dean Bradish. Okay? The years leading up to the Civil War, and thank you for saying that because this is a fascinating little book in our holdings. This is called Narrative of a Fugitive Slave, written in 18... Yeah, it's actually a really good read. 1847, the abolitionist years. And William Brown was the publisher. But Gilman Fay, Polly Dean Bradish were the leading abolitionists in town. Polly Dean Bradish house is still standing on North Main Street. It was the site of one of the Underground Railroad buildings in town. They were both compatriots, friends of Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass came to Upton to visit
Really?
Polly Dean. Yeah.
That actually reminds me, do you have any information as to whether the Samuel Forbush house was part of the Underground Railroad?
Ooh, yeah, I've heard,
Because I suspect, I have heard that, that's my house.
I've heard that too, yeah.
And there are secret rooms in there, hiding
Right.
places in the house, so there's, and even with the hiding place, there's multiple
Yeah.
egresses from it.
So along with that, right now, the Arbor Thayer Wood House is still standing.
Yeah,
It's abandoned. It's going to go up for sale by the developer. It's on West Main Street. And it's a beautiful 1855 home with the barn.
yeah.
And so the developer let the Historical Society go through, and we found 2 secret bedrooms upstairs that you literally have to go through a door that is this big. It's still there, and you go in, and there's 2 bedrooms in there. So Arbor Thayer Wood, secretly, with his wife, really, they were part of the Abolitionist Society, though day to day, they would never admit it. Okay, so I'm going to be writing a story about that. I've got all the documents. They were written by his daughter in 1909 about the story of how they would house fugitive slaves at that house in West Upton. I'm trying to save it. I'm going to try to save it. My favorite, this is Charlotte Fay's book. It's a picture of the John Fay house, their library in the house. And this is their cat. And the photo is labeled the literary cat. This is a cool piece right here. I just obtained this. I'm helping a family liquidate their estate. It's the family of Emily Dickinson. We all know Emily Dickinson. But her nephew, Nate, so her uncle was Nathaniel, the son was Nate. This was Nate Dickinson's practice quill pen and cursive template. The great niece gave it to me and said, the family doesn't want it. Can you find something to do with this? So I'm going to show it here for a little while. This is his practice sheet. And then I think I'm going to donate it to the Emily Dickinson Museum up in
Nice.
Amherst. This family still lives in North Amherst. My wife has met them. Judith is 89. And she's a bit saddened because her 3 boys and their grandchildren, they just don't want to know anything about it. But it's a fascinating family.
Who belongs to the glasses?
They're just here for flavor.
They help you read.
They help you
Which is
read.
related to-
Just like the canoe, right? To me, this is a literary prop,
Yeah. Oh.
right? Mark Twain.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm kind of hokey that way. Beyond that, Barry has there's a petition available. We really want to move from the 2nd floor of the Noel Racine building to the old library. There's an effort right now to apply for a grant to make that area downstairs handicap accessible. We don't need a space this grand, but we certainly need a space from where we are. People can't really even come into our library. So times have changed. So that petition, and the selectmen are fully behind it. They're in the process of, they've submitted a grant for that purpose. So it's good news to have the selectmen on your side. We are an independent, not-for-profit 501c. We are not appointed or any part of the town directorate, but we are guests of the Upton Historical Society, Historical Commission. They are the appointed board by the town. So we are guests of them at the Noel Racine building.
Why can't they just give you permission to move downstairs?
They would like to, but it could create issues. It could, and we fully understand, because one of the driving forces to make this building was that the old library wasn't ADA compliant. There was a lot of issues. Books are very heavy. The building's built in 1871. Structurally, Should there be that many books? And you can't grow. You can't grow there. You can't have meetings. You can't have like a center to come. So there's all the reasons to move out of that are completely legitimate. But now it's an empty space.
But to where? If you were to move out of that?
We don't have another place, but it's ideal for us. We would still have administrative offices on the second floor. Every single week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we have workers. We have volunteers at the society transcribing records, taking the raw data and making permanent records. So we have several volunteers. We need more. If any of you or you know somebody, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, 10 to 12, please sign up, come on down. We need the help. It's volunteer.
So do you have to get on the warrant to have this happen?
No. There's no money involved.
No.
It's just up to the board to decide if they want to let us use
The
that space.
select board?
Yeah,
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they're already on, well, they've already taken a vote to support us moving. Honestly, we wanted to say it, but you never know. We didn't say it. The Board of Selectmen suggested, why aren't you on the first floor? I mean, the Upton Center is when you think about Upton, it's really the two pieces. You got Upton Center and you got West Upton Center. And from kind of our thinking is West Upton Center is kind of the business center. It's the multi-residential housing, elder center, the subsidized housing in Millhouse, etc. More dense population, a little bit of commercial retail. And then Upton Center's passive library, senior center, town hall, town business,
And a pizza place.
historical society. You know, it's kind of like the passive with a couple little retails built in. You can need those anyways.
Oh, yeah.
But, so that's kind of the vision that we're looking at.
So it could happen quickly.
Oh yeah, we're hoping in the spring. We're hoping by the spring that we're gonna be, that's our goal.
Good
Yeah.
luck.
Scott, is there a list of these books with the titles and where you could, whether you can get them at the library or if you need to go over to the Historical Society to take a copy to look at?
Well, we just made this up. This has the pricing on them. Our website has them on there.
Okay, so the ones from the Historical Society are for sale.
Yes, these are all for sale.
Some of them you may find in the library.
Yeah, I think we have probably all of them. We don't have that. Did you say Pope was the author, that sort of shiny blue one?
No, it was a William Poor.
William Poyd. That's the only one I don't think we might have.
So
So
we have one that we can certainly,
The letter to Joanna, is that in the
not
library?
available. I'm gonna hopefully get it reproduced.
Okay.
I think we have one copy
Yeah.
that circulates. And what I would encourage you, so this is a nice sort of fundraiser for the Historical Society, so I would say glance at them in the library collection, and if you like them, go to the Historical Society and buy them.
Yeah, you can send us a message online. You can email us.
But all this stuff will be on display till the end of November in the display case.
Right,
And we have little name tags on everything.
they're great gifts. I mean, it's that time of year to give someone a good read. You know, we've got a lot of historical books over there. I only brought two. These are, this one here is 1798. And this one here is the history of Massachusetts Bay communities. I think it's written in no, this one's 1798. This one here is,
And the library doesn't have, there was a point, I think it was Barbara Burke and I probably at one point decided, you know, the library had some of this historical stuff and so we kind of shifted the responsibility for maintaining the archives and things to the Historical Society.
right, and so we have a lot, that one right there has a Upton Library post in the front of it. So that obviously came from them.
Yeah, I have a couple of, kind of like the ledgers and like the library records I have, but
Mhm.
all the sort of historical documents, we shifted a lot of that function to the Historical Society.
So I just donated this. I've had this I got this from Audrey Ballou. Anybody here remember Audrey Ballou? Yeah. he gave me this back in the 60s. It's the original Upton Gazette. It was a newspaper published for about 3 years. And it's got Upton accounts here. What I like most about this is published in 1895. But they contain writings of Pratt Pond Jr. Anybody ever heard of him? Daniel Fisk. It was his pseudonym. He was a writer. I believe his wife was active in the library. But on the side, he was a pharmacist. And on the side, he wrote some great stories. They're 74% fictional. He would take one fact and he would expand upon it. So one story is about a gold rush in Upton. Right in 1895. And he tells a story about 3 men who were gathered at the town common for cattle show day. And they were standing and they were looking up at Pratt Hill. So they were standing in the middle of the road, looking up Pratt Hill. And that they had an enlightenment that there was gold on Pratt Hill. So they made their way up there. So he takes the cave, the triangulation, orientation of the cave, to Pratt Hill, where there were 3 cairns, big piles of stones, and he believed that gold is buried in between those 3 piles of stones. And it was buried there by ancient, I don't know the term, Paladonians?
Oh, I don't know. Paleolithic? I don't know.
Yeah. And it's a great story, but he goes on, and they found gold.
You're kidding.
Well, he didn't really.
Oh, you mean in the story?
But
We live on Pratt Hill.
yeah, they were supposed to keep, amongst themselves, they were supposed to keep quiet. And they couldn't resist it because the bag of gold was so heavy that someone saw it and they spilled some gold. And so before long, everybody from town and surrounding towns were on Pratt Hill digging holes. So it's kind of a fun story. But that's the kind of stories that he wrote. He mixed in a little bit of truth with fiction.
So take a look at the stuff on the table here and stop by and see us at the museum if you get a chance. We'd appreciate it.
Yeah. I want to thank Matt for inviting us. I want to thank our cable channel and obviously Barry for
Thank you.
helping me get this together.
Thanks, Scott.
Wow.
And come Thursday night. See the